to the mess in Selma, Alabama. He's black. After giving his life, or risking his life and losing his brother, he came home to not being welcomed, not being able to vote for who was going to send him to war. So I can say that Mom came here while she was attending Wayne State University. She had a baby that was born that lived a few hours, and then a baby that was stillborn in the car. And she had told me later, remembering picking up that little baby and how perfect he was with his little fingernails and his little eyelashes. And the baby that had lived 6 hours was buried in the Catholic cemetery. The baby that was stillborn could not be buried there. Because in the Catholic Church, unless the child receives a live birth, they do not see the face of God. My mother left the Catholic Church because to her that was wrong. So to be in a position of determining right and wrong in your own heart, which I believe we all know anyhow, then you don't have those questions, why did she go? And I've met many, many people that have come up to me and said, your mother made me wonder why I didn't go. And I think that's what we need to think about. If people are suffering, if they're hurting right here in our own, within a drive away,
That's right.
I'm so proud of her because I tell people now, my mother went to Selma because Dr. King invited her to go. He got on TV and said, if you know this is wrong, will you come to Selma and help us? And I'm so very proud to be the daughter of one of the people who went. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. My name is Tony Liuzzo. I was Viola's second youngest. 10 years old when my mother died. I'd like to talk about some of the things that we did that were fun and that I remember. I thank my family for being here because I haven't seen them in 30, 40 years, 30 years. And it's, this weekend has brought people together that we haven't seen in a long time. It's really heartwarming. But my mother loved to have fun. Children in the neighborhood, our friends, really enjoyed to come over to our house because she would make things special. She always wanted to make sure that she would do something out of the ordinary to make us laugh, to make us have fun. She would take us rock hunting. She would take us on trips, antique stores, and that was her life. Her life was just full. And so when she got the call, as my sister said, when Dr. King put out the call to come to Alabama, she naturally had to go. You know, when a ship's sailing and the sails are up and the rudder is in the water and all things are right, it goes straight, travels nice through the waves, it'll cut through the waves. But if you take one of those pieces apart, take the sail down, it may continue straight. You may still cut the waves, but it will slow down eventually and go with the current. If you knock the rudder off, at that point in time, you're really a lost hope. And I think that's what it felt like at times for our family after we got the news that our mother was killed. But the community around us, some were very strong, and a lot of people pitched in. There are a lot of bad stories we could say, but they're the ones that I want to remember are the ones where people would take me under their wing. One in particular, John Taylor, a black man from Detroit. He was a mechanic on 7 Mile Road in Water at a Shell station, and I rode my bike up there. And I had to get air on my tire, and he came out and he said, "You're Mrs. Liuzzo." I said, "Yeah." I didn't know what to think. He must have been 6'7". I was small for a 10-year-old at that time. And he picked me up and hugged me, brought me home, talked to my dad, and asked if he could take me hunting. And out on field trips, and he mentored me. It was just amazing. So he was really, to me, you know, as the community pulled in and helped us get through a lot of times. So if we can reflect and reflect on the good, let's do that. When I was in Selma this past March, walked into Selma, and there were black and white state troopers together, guarding the marchers, guarding the people who were going to Brown's Chapel. There were black and white Selma police who were doing everything in their power to make sure that we were safe, felt safe, and had no problems. So there has been change, a lot of good change. You look around after 1965, after the death of Viola Liuzzo, and you can see it. And if you look through history, you'll see the change get stronger and stronger and stronger every year until we had a black president. So we can look at the negative all we want, but yes, we have a lot of work to do. We better do it, because if we don't, the whole country's going to be the ship that has no rudder, and has no sails. So let's make sure that doesn't happen. Let's band together. Let us make the change one at a time and go forward wherever we have to go and however we have to do it. But look at ourselves first before we look at others and judge how they are. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sally. I'm Viola's youngest. I was 6 years old when Mom was killed. First I want to start with, I want to tell some personal stories I remember about my mom, and they may be a little different from what you've heard because they come from a mind of a 6-year-old. But I want to start with the story of my birth. Mom had just lost 3 babies. And when I was born, I had something called myotonia, which was a form of muscular dystrophy. And I had no muscle tone. They told my mom and dad, put me in the Sarah Fisher home for the severely disabled, that at the very best I might be able to feed myself. And my mom said, I'm going to take that baby home and I'm going to love her just like I've loved every other one of my children. She took me home and worked with my muscles for 2 years. I wore special shoes and a sandbag around my neck for a couple years because I couldn't hold my head up. And by the time I was 2, I was walking, talking. She dressed me up in a beautiful dress and had me walk into the doctor's office that gave me that diagnosis. She said, Sally, walk in there and tell that doctor your name. And I did. And he swore it had to be a different child. So that was who Mom was. But then when I got a little older, about maybe a year before she died, she was always bringing home stray animals. She loved nature, she loved animals. Our house was a zoo. We had guinea pigs. And there was one we had for a long time named Petey. And he kept having breathing problems. He had pneumonia. Mom even gave him some sulfa, an injection of sulfa, and got him through that bout of pneumonia. And then eventually he did die. That was my first experience with death. And I was so sad and I didn't understand it. And so Mom got a shoebox and she lined it in satin. She made a little satin pillow and she laid Petey in the guinea pig in this shoebox and put it in our library in our home, called us all in, and we had a service for this guinea pig. And she explained death to me. And she said, Sally, these are just shells and your spirit lives on forever. And that has carried me through my entire life, because they may have taken her physical body away from me, they will never take her spirit. And it's with me every day. To add on to that, I would go to the cemetery with her to visit my brother's grave. And I would be afraid. And she'd say, Sally, what are you afraid of? And I'd say the dead people, there's dead people here. And she, again, reiterated, Sally, they're just shells. And, you know, so it was like she was almost trying to prepare me for something and, you know, help me to understand. And the other thing that I remember the most about her is something I've carried on too, is I'm a big rock hound. And I love being down in Tennessee because that's where she was raised, and there's rock quarries everywhere, so I'm always bringing home rocks from everywhere I go. But a really neat thing happened at the posthumous celebration for her doctorate. A 93-year-old woman was there, and she came up to me and she said, Sally, I remember you going on a geology school field trip with your mom at Wayne State, and we went rock hunting together. And when she said rock hunting, I knew in that second that she knew Mom. She said that they would have contests about who could find the most fossils. And her daughter was there, and she said, I kept wondering, why is Mom filling the house with all these fossils? But that's who Mom was. She was fun, she loved nature, she loved people, and she loved life, no matter how minute it was, even if it was a guinea pig. So, thank you.